board, Charlene Delicato and Jerome Turner. While Greg Lasorsa and Maureen McGuire are absent, we do have a quorum, and thus we can conduct the business of the board and vote on any matters that come before the board. Also with us are our planning and wetland consultant Jan Johannesson and council Judd Siebert and the planning board administrator Kirsten Conley. Okay, so let's get started. The first item on our agenda is a decision on calendar number 0621 PB, the LAC residence 1 White Birch Lane, Golden's Bridge, New York. This is an application that typically would not come before us, but there is for Wild Oaks initial master plan approval for the site plan, and so this does need to come before us. So I believe we have people here to talk about it a little bit. So introduce yourself and.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Mark Lath, homeowner of 1 White Birch Lane, Golden's Bridge. We had installed in 2018, 2016, 2019, hired a contractor to install mini split systems for our townhouse in Golden's Bridge. We thought he was reputable, and I guess he did an okay job, but did not file for the right permits. So we're here to, I guess, legalize, filed in the middle of June with the building inspector, and then they informed us that we needed to apply here. So that's where we are.
Okay. So this is similar to other things we've seen in Wild Oaks, and I believe we have the resolution.
We do. And again, this is becoming fairly common because of that initial Wild Oaks approval. Even the most modest of changes to the properties require, and then rather than going through the whole site plan review process, we can shortcut it, waive site plan review procedures and approve. And that's what this resolution does. Recites the fact that the master approval is out there, the fact that HVAC units that were installed at the last property, that they're de minimis in nature, and that they satisfy the conditions to waive site plan review approval processes. So step 1 is to waive those processes, and step 2 is to grant an amended site plan approval for the installation shown in.
Right. So is that 2 motions?
Single motion. Single resolution.
So I mean that we adopt the resolution indicating that we gave site plan approval and also approve the site plan for the location of the compressor space.
Upon seconding the motion, I'd also like to note that there were letters of support in the application
From the neighbors.
from the neighbors. Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Your resolution has been approved. You can get a copy. Well, once it's signed, I'm sure Kirsten will get you a copy.
Super. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And this is a quirk in our law that we should figure out how to update so that this isn't quite so difficult for all of you.
Yeah, we got a lot of help from Kirsten, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so I am accused on the next, so I'm asking Jerome to handle this one.
Yeah. Next item is an extension time request by Petroselli, calendar 0812 PB, property located on Hospital Road. Resolution, extension of time to resolution granting preliminary final subdivision plat and negative declaration of the secret. dated October 21st, 2014. Michael,
Yes, good evening, Michael Soriano. I understand you don't have a forum for this,
we do have it.
but not yet.
No, not
We have an issue with.
Yeah, right.
So,
So we would have to adjourn this, but there is an issue of an outstanding escrow.
yes, and I did get that paperwork from Kirsten, so we're going to take care of that before the next meeting.
So then why don't we adjourn both the vote and also awaiting the opinion.
That's fine. I guess with two of your members on paid vacation this week, this month, we have to do that.
Right, and they're not together. Okay.
Thank you.
The next item, thank you, John. The next item on our agenda is a public hearing. It's calendar number 04-19 PB, calendar 17-19 WP, and calendar number 06-19 SW. This is Pound Ridge Stone, 2 West Road, South Hill, New York. And this is an application for site upgrades, including additional parking and storage areas. So we will now start the public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is for the board to hear the concerns and comments of the public. Comments should be addressed to the planning board, not to the applicant. A public hearing is not meant to be a dialogue. And in general, the board will not respond to comments at the public hearing. But of course, the board will take any public input into consideration as we continue to review the application. Yeah, well, it's got to read mine. The format for a public hearing is typically the chair will introduce the application, which I've just done. The applicant will give a summary of the project. And the planning board advisors will review their comments. Public comment period will then take place, and then discussion by the planning board. So I will ask if there is anyone who is interested in or is here for the public hearing on Pound Ridge Stone. I don't see any. So I guess I would ask if any members of the board feel they need to see this application again, since you've seen a lot of it, or, okay,
You're comfortable with
okay. Jan, do you have any comments that you would like to?
No, we had a handful of comments that were named that are not really substantive. We've drafted a negative declaration of significance in the resolution that encompasses the site development plan approval, special use permit, wetland permit, and stormwater permit, and that the handful of outstanding comments, which are really minimal, become conditions of the approval. Nothing further to add.
Okay, so does the applicant feel, so you have the proof of,
Yeah, I want to hand up my proof of the certified mailing notice and
great? Thank you.
So a question I have, will the file be left open for public comment? Or we close it, if once we close the hearing, it would still be a 30-day
No,
period?
No.
It would close. Yeah.
it would close. And that's a good reminder that I should check with Kirsten, make sure, see whether there have been any comments that have come in to the planning board email.
No email, no mail letters.
So I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
So the motion carries and the public hearing is closed. So as we've heard, and as I think we've seen, Jan has circulated a neg deck and a resolution, but I think we should discuss briefly whether or not we agree that this is something that we should, is worthy of a negative declaration. I think the environmental issues have been identified and commented on and addressed, but I don't know if there's any.
I would agree.
Um, We do know there is a wetland close to this property, and I think the comments requiring not only the sort of general environmental issues, but the wetland have been also addressed. So, and I think we did need to just discuss whether or not we thought a neg deck was appropriate. So with that, I guess I'd look for a motion to approve the resolution and the neg deck together.
I so move.
Thank you, Shalene.
Second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. So the motion carries and this resolution is approved.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Oops, if you want to pass over the resolution, I'll sign it.
We got a good approval from ACARC last week. The resolution, I believe, has been drafted, but it hasn't yet been signed.
Right, thank you. I should have mentioned, we should have mentioned that, but that, thank you, that, and I think that was the only other board that you had to,
ZBA.
Right, we already got.
went to the ZBA. Yeah.
There's a DOT permit that's included as a condition.
I think the OT is going to be happy with us for encroaching less into the state right away than has been historically the case.
Okay.
I don't think
thank
DOT
you.
has ever.
That's it. I think there's only one signature. Okay,
Thank you.
So
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much. Enjoy
Okay.
the rest of the-
and you know, dealing with the hordes of people that turned up. Appreciate your patience. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the subdivision, which is the calendar number 05-21 PB. This is Truesdale Lake Property Owners Association regarding the Hoyt Street Paper Road in South Salem, New York, and it's an application for a lot line change. We have been asked to adjourn that to September, so
I have a
that,
question.
sure.
This is a moot point in that the building inspector has opined that a dock would not be permitted by either by lake agreement or I forget what it's using.
By deed, it's by
By deed.
deed, yeah.
So do they still want to?
Has there been appeals to the ZBA?
There's been no appeal filed, but my understanding is that there has been additional dialogue between the building inspector and the property owner. And the building inspector would like to confer with myself and with Greg Kelly with regard to the interpretive determination issue, which will occur between now and September. If that decision could stand, it may be altered, but they've asked for that.
And they may approve.
And they could always appeal.
Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, so I think they're, in the next month, they should have some determination of how they will proceed on this. Okay, so the next item on our agenda, I'm sorry, if I wasn't clear, that is going to September. We did say that. Okay. The next item on our agenda is wetland permit review. This is for the Clark Garage at 68 East Ridge Road in Wacabuck, New York. This is an application for a detached garage.
With the one bedroom apartment.
I'm sorry, yes, it has, it's a detached garage with a an apartment above it, which appears to be one bedroom.
Correct.
Thank you.
Well, I'm Michael Wetzel, these are the homeowners.
You can take your mask down too. Yeah, nice to meet you.
So we went to the zoning board. They approved it at the time when we went there, I'll just give you the background. At the time we went there, the homeowners were gonna move there, take care of her mother who lived in the house at the time. She is now not living in the house anymore due to her age and some other issues going on. So we'd like to still move along with the building of the 3-car garage, and keep, maybe eventually then put a accessory apartment above it, but it's not gonna be the immediate, plan as of now. 'Cause I know you guys have some questions about the septic. We're looking into with the, health department. There's a couple of different, we looked at what the town has on file, what the health department has on file, and they're not the same. So we're dealing with that. But like I said, we're just trying to get the building in the ground before winter. And we're trying to do.
Are you proposing to eliminate the apartment on the second floor? Or?
We're not opposing, we're not looking to eliminate it right now. I know we had some questions about septic and what was going on with it. Like I said, there's different, we looked in the file. The file has one thing of how many bedrooms the house has. And we're trying to find out what has the health department has on file. So we'd like to still keep the option open to have an apartment up there. But as of right now, we aren't going to seek to finish the apartment. We'd like to just get the garage in. And then we're going to be looking to do some work on the house, which has been, nothing's been updated since what year was it built in? 73. So it's on East Ridge Road, nothing was done since 73. No landscaping, nothing to the house.
Yeah.
So we wanted to first get that in there so they can take care of her mother and then deal with the house and renovate that.
But the questions were revolving around the septic system that have to get answered prior to the board's taking action.
Well, so the question was,
If it's going to be part of the application.
well, so yeah, it'll be part of the application. Like I said,
But
as
just
far
not-
as we know, it's a 1,250 gallon tank in the ground. And at one time it was zoned as a 3-bedroom and then it got upgraded to a 4-bedroom that we found in the file from the town. So that's what we're just finding. We want to find out that actually the health department has on file.
It's not the size of the tank that dictates.
Understood.
Size of
Correct.
the
I
tank.
understand that. But like I said, at one point they had a 3-bedroom and then
Right.
we found in paperwork from the town at one point they put a 2nd floor addition on or renovated the 2nd floor into another bedroom. So we're just trying to find out what the health department has on file. We requested paperwork from them.
So
We didn't
I
realize we had to come here. We got the notice on Friday of what we needed for this meeting. We contacted the health department and they said, how long? 4 weeks out. So we didn't want to cancel our planning board meeting. Wanted to know what else you needed from us. Maybe we get,
Right.
find out when we need to get done.
Okay, so I think one of the ways to help with this would be to refer this to the building inspector. The building inspector, one of the things he will do is do a bedroom count. And so that will tell you how many bedrooms he thinks the house plus the apartment, if you build it, will be, so that you will at least know what the requirements are. So I think one of the steps we should take, I would encourage us to take, if the board agrees, would be to refer this to the building inspector and for zoning compliance, but also,
Well, so we've already been to zoning.
The building inspector has to review your site plan that you submitted to the planning board for zoning compliance and also the special permit regulations. Well, not special permit regulations, the accessory apartment regulations. So the board usually requests something in writing from the building inspector identifying that it's compliant.
yeah, what did you go to the zoning board for?
For the accessory apartment and the oversize.
Okay,
And
Yeah, so the.
And those
just to
two things are
clarify,
approved.
the accessory apartment is no action. It likely went to the ZBA because the size of the detached structure is greater than 600 square feet.
So the accessory apartment has not been built yet.
nothing's been done. There's nothing in the ground.
Okay,
We haven't,
so, and that's off the table as now. So you're gonna make the foundation sufficient. And
correct. It was gonna be a 3-car garage with an accessory apartment for the family to take care of the mother.
There's a bunch of zoning regs, in particular on the accessory apartment that the building inspector has to confirm.
Okay.
so even if the plans are there, even if it's not gonna be finalized now, built out interior, but as long as that's part of the plans, we have to look at that before we can approve it.
Right.
That would expedite it.
Well,
And you'd have to come back.
We still have to
the,
come back.
You have to come back.
You would have to come back to the planning board only if it was determined that septic wasn't adequate for the additional bedroom and you had to do some sort of expansion of the septic system. Took the bedroom off the table.
Yeah, if you had an open loft.
Yeah.
That's not an issue. Not
Only if sometime in the future it's determined that the existing septic system is not adequate for the future. If you decide to put in the apartment above, right? Then you might have to come back if the septic needs to be upgraded. Yeah, you could take it off the table. Yeah, but the building inspector, and you have the variance for the added square footage, so.
I mean, the only thing I would encourage you to think about is if you want to do it in the future, it would probably help to have the building inspector's determination now.
Well, so we're looking to
I don't know,
expedite
right, I know
this
you want to.
and get something in the grounds.
So I will also say that I am concerned, besides the bedroom count, that how close this is to the wetland. It's 50 feet from where it's planned to be, it's proposed to be 50 feet from the wetland. It looks like there are places that it could go that, I mean, they might not. And so I'd like to hear if you looked at any other places on the property, thought, okay, this might work, this, why you chose a place that is that close to the wetland. I mean, our requirements as a board is to really attempt to minimize the impact on the wetland and the wetland buffer to the greatest extent that we can figure out how to do that. So it, the plans as you have them are pretty intrusive. So
Understood.
what did you think about when you located the garage, and why is that
So the first thing we looked at was where the property looked the driest and to the right side where the existing garage is. We didn't know where wetlands were at first. We got a couple maps that was in the wrong spot. We had an engineering area come out where we placed it, where we decided we thought we wanted it. We realized it was in the buffer. If we moved it out farther, it would block the garage to the house and it would be in the driveway. And if we went any farther to get out of the 100 foot buffer, it would be in the front yard of the property. And if we went backwards a little bit, even we'd still be in the 100 foot or 150 foot buffer, we'd be encroaching on the wetland or the septic expansion area. And there's also a generator back there.
Is the left side of the house an option? Because it doesn't.
So the left side of the house already has I don't know why it's not on that plan, but there's already a old horse farm that's there as a garage. That's going to get renovated into a down the line.
That's
hopefully.
further in the back. What about when they're coming down the driveway, immediately to the left?
So that, I mean, we consider that the front of the property. It's the front of the house.
But it doesn't, it's like the house is so far set back, it doesn't really present like the front yard.
Well, I mean, the reason we're trying to keep it like the rest of the properties on each of those. There's a nice big field in the front. It gets mowed twice a year. We're trying to keep that look.
So the other item is
fenced in.
that wetlands DC regulated. So if you're within 100 feet of the wetland, you're going to need a state permit. And this board typically doesn't act until you have the state permit. So that's,
So if we moved it into the 150 foot buffer,
the
would
state has 100 foot.
100 foot, state's 100 foot.
Yeah,
Correct. And
so
we're
if you got
150.
it out of the 100-foot buffer, you would eliminate the state permit. But that, having the building 50 feet away from the state wetland triggers a pretty full review by the state. Up to that expedited things, it's. You have plans to.
Well, we have a letter from the CAC, memo, the Conservation Advisory Committee, and they made that comment, the concern about proximity to wetland and whether or not it's
Yeah, I was looking for the plans themselves. You don't have a copy of the plans that you could show us?
I didn't.
Okay.
Give you guys a copy of it.
Hard copy of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so I do want to, so, because I really do, I do think we have to think about the um, alternatives. There's,
The other item that's just coming to mind is you're gonna have to mitigate the roof runoff put it into some sort of drainage system, called tech system or something of that nature. And there's separation distances between where you'd want to, if the garage stays on that side of the property, you can't put that infiltration system next to your expansion area, which is right there, it's a setback. So just thinking of all those things, it's going to become, and then you're going to have more disturbance in the wetland buffer because of the stormwater mitigation moving forward.
and we would, of course, want to see wetland mitigation of, so typically there's some kind of either wetland plantings or something to mitigate.
There's a mandatory one-to-one mitigation.
Right.
ratio.
So there's a fair amount of stuff. I mean, it sounds like you're really anxious to try to move quickly to get this done quickly. But
Only because we've been
I'm
trying-
sorry?
Only because we've been trying since a year ago. And now we finally came to the planning board. We didn't,
Okay,
I guess stuff got mixed up.
okay. Yeah, so, I mean, because I was going to say, I think we only got this a month ago to get it.
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Well, there's
So-
no writing from it.
Yeah, I mean, because, remember.
You have to make the
you got the
application.
zoning and stuff.
That's why I
So,
didn't come here.
yeah, I mean,
Well,
I keep
put it
on
in the-
thinking,
you know.
Separate
I hated everything.
departments and
$50.
separate, yeah, separate applications and separate departments.
and you said there's currently another building, another garage?
It's not a garage. It's we have a,
You want to step up here and just mark it?
well, yeah, I'll show you on the, I have an old,
An old survey? Okay.
this is the garage. It's a, it wasn't a force, it's too small.
Okay, so let me find, so this is the
The
driveway.
driveway is,
So,
yeah, the driveway is here, I put the.
okay,
It's a little bit,
so it's a little
this
bit
is
back
actually
here,
what's here, it's a little bit off.
it's a little bit here. About,
It's right there.
about there, okay.
Are there horses on the property now?
There are no horses in there.
So, I mean, one of the things I'm thinking, so this, I think, this area is trees. You also have to take down trees, and if you come out here, you wouldn't have trees. I don't,
We're trying to get a front yard of the property.
yeah, yeah.
Well, my concern is more so about.
I don't want this to get caught in my paper.
One is negotiation, is negotiable, so to speak, but this may be less negotiable.
Yeah, so this is, Right. and if I'm right, is this is, yeah, it's preserve,
Old field.
old field preserve. And so it's, if it, if it were safe in here,
No, here's the 150 foot.
Right, the husband cuts to the, old garage.
Yeah.
Back then, for what.
And what Jan said a moment ago is, here's the state 100 foot buffer, which you're well within, and you need to get their approval on that. But if you slip this way, somehow outside of the 100 foot, it'd still be in 150, but it'd be less negotiable.
yeah, I mean, it would be better for us and we would not
I just don't
need
see,
to get the DEC
I don't see how to get out of this.
out of this.
Well, yeah, that's the key.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then you're got garage on the other
I mean, we can, this, we're up in here past the.
yeah,
For the
but,
water main.
but maybe you could get out of the 100 foot, so you don't have to deal with the DEC. Then you just have to deal with us.
I'd rather than you. If we could think, if we could find a place, we would have it.
I mean, the other thing that, the question of speed versus everything else is a problem, but you might be able to, I don't know how, since you have the septic here, I don't know whether they'd be willing to say, move the expansion area. So that gets you back to the Department of Health, which is, not fast. But it might allow you to have it closer to where you like it. What I'm saying is there are some different options that,
But
but
that's on the other side of the house.
it,
Yeah, but I think what the chair is saying is if you put the garage where your expansion area is, just find another place for your expansion area.
that might be easier to move. I mean,
Yeah, but that's on the other
We're
side.
still within the 100 buffer.
Yeah, but it's
well,
further away.
You're within the 150, but you might be out of the 100.
Yeah.
So, moving anything that so I think we look to the maximum extent possible. That doesn't mean that you have to move it, across town. What we're trying to do is make it as good as possible. So yeah, we would like you out of 150, but I think hearing what you want, which is one, timeliness, so that would get, if anything you can do to get out of the DEC, that would probably help. But the downside of putting it here is that you do have to have time,
Well, and I'm also on the opposite side of the house.
right, how long that would take. So up here, I mean, that's what, there are people that have garages as sort of almost gatehouses, entry things to their property. I mean, it won't work for you.
No, it won't work there.
Okay,
Well, let me get,
I shouldn't be trying to answer.
No.
well, no, it's not our job to decide. Obviously, we're
Right.
giving you the conditions that we'd like to see overcome.
Right.
And, I would also suggest that we look at what's going on in the space of the house, well, on the spaces of the house. And this is the south here, right? This is your sunniest exposure. If you move this over here, you could be shading, and I'm not sure if it's pool or if it's sitting area. So you gotta, you architect. What's your role? Okay, so the architect should take another look at it. From the.
It's just that, eventually, we want to be able to afford to do the house, and if the kitchen and everything is on this side of the house.
On this side.
But, okay, so I think what we've done is we've told you
Yeah.
our concerns. You have some choices that you can make.
DEC permit's it's probably a 6-month permit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So try to get that out of
Right.
the state.
So I think,
So.
I mean, and I would also say that the DEC, I mean, if you decided to leave it there, then you probably have time to figure out and go through getting the approval of the accessory apartment. That doesn't become I mean, so you have different timelines here. Yeah, so, but you need to.
Yeah.
We've given sort of
Yeah.
the now, how can we go on a site walk? It doesn't sound like right now you're planning to keep this in this spot. So I don't know that it makes sense for us to go and see. I mean, you're not supposed to do this. This is the, no, but this is the architect and him coming out.
He can't help himself.
You create a courtyard here,
If I can just let me get on here.
Yeah, I mean, that would, I think,
That gets rid of the DEC,
and it puts you 100 feet back.
and I would say it's probably a good 6 months. Maybe, 4 months in a good day, but,
So
So-
what's the deal if you attach it to the existing structure?
it's,
Same thing?
I mean, if you're in the buffer, you're in the buffer. That makes no difference
right.
from a
I mean,
wetlands.
but you could, but if
It'll
you,
probably get
if
it
you
further out of the
decided
buffer
that it
because your
would
house is further.
make sense to
The
be,
buffer kind of goes through the house, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
But if
The
you-
buffer goes through the
It's
house.
not
I don't think there's
It's
any
attached- is it
difference for
accessory
us
or-
whether it's attached or not attached.
I didn't know there was a
It
wetland.
wouldn't be accessory.
No. The only thing, well, it still becomes an accessory,
Well, it depends on how it's integrated.
right? It either could be an
There's no connection.
accessory,
It could be
or
or
it could
could,
be,
yeah. there's
you
no
know,
connection.
and,
But then you just do it.
right, and the building inspector would probably look and say, is this a net gain of bedrooms, or did you do something like put a hallway through what used to be a bedroom and it's no longer a bedroom? You know, what did you do? So, but from us, the whole thing is, you want to, I think it's important to get out. And I also, because this is a preserve, I also would just personally encourage you to try to keep, you know, more space between you and the preserve. I know there are riding trails that go through there and stuff. And
Yeah, they're on the phone.
on your property. There they go.
My family's more generous than I am.
The other thing, I mean, this is really minor, but you could ask somebody, as I was looking at this, I realized under here, under plumbing, you have numbers 1 through 11 and then 13. And I just get suspicious when people leave out numbers.
Number 12 is missing.
Yes, and I
Usually
don't,
you leave out 13.
right, I don't know if it's, yeah, so I don't know if there was,
So, and I have one other question. So, I mean, we've been looking at this and trying to figure out, and one idea was to kind of like fit it in the current driveway, but then you have the driveway. What's that?
well, I mean, a driveway move, it's gravel on your property. You still would want to, you still have to do mitigation. If you're saying drive,
No, it'd be by the other way.
Oh.
Away from the net.
I think the only thing would be, is there a road cut that the highway department would have
It's a
to?
private road.
So
Yeah, but you could swing
I
this
don't
road
think it-
outside the buffer.
I don't think it would,
I think that would be nice. Again, make it perpendicular.
or even if you can.
Yeah, that is, I mean, we were trying
Sure.
to,
Sure. I
Right.
think that would be a good approach.
So, I mean, so moving the driveway is only you having to deal with the, you know, going across your lawn and regreening it. You don't have any, I mean, because the septics are back here, you've got clear, you got kind of clear avenue there to do.
Right.
And if it's out of the wetland, I mean, I don't say we don't care. We don't have any say.
Yeah.
I mean, we want it to look nice, but we don't have any say.
Yeah.
So,
and then in terms of the storage,
Stormwater.
yeah. I'm in the hunter, is still worried about that.
Yeah, if you're gonna have to,
yeah,
gutters and send it to the system.
Okay.
That's, if you're anywhere within the 150, if you're in the 150 foot, that's the requirement. Only if you're out of the 150 foot and you're less than 5,000 square feet of disturbance, there would be no requirement for flood water.
You know, could I suggest here that your consultant, the architect, meet with Jan? Well,
Yeah.
not part of our time.
Yeah, sorry.
at his office,
Yep.
and go through all of these
Yeah.
permutations.
But you understand our, okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. And I appreciate all your time.
Yeah,
Right, right.
the architect, I have weekly meetings, so they could set up a meeting, we could Zoom and.
Okay, great.
So then our next step is to be wrong with that.
Yeah, I meet with him. I mean, I'm sorry, I shouldn't point. Meet with Jan, please, and, you know, he will help
Come
you.
back to you guys then.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we basically, we have to submit a separate application, or are we like tabling this until we have?
No, you just submit revised plans after we
Yeah.
meet.
Whenever you have an updated set of plans that you think are ones we should look at, bring
When
it
do we
in.
have to get those to get on your next calendar?
You would have to get them in on, I know the answer. August 31st, which doesn't give you a lot of time to get to our September 21st meeting.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next thing that we have is really a site visit report. So, and I have that in my file. This is for calendar number 47-21 WP, calendar number 909-21 SW, the Beresford residence at 253 Silver Spring Road, South Salem. This is an application for construction of a single-family house. And so we did have a site walk on last Saturday, August 14th. The attendees were the applicants, and from the planning board, Charlene, Jerome, and I attended, and a CAC member, or the CAC chair, John Wolf, also attended. We arrived using the shared driveway. We saw the post marking the corner of the property that impinged on the driveway. That was pointed out, and the applicant referenced their plans to move the driveway, so it was entirely on the property. We walked up the proposed driveway up to the house site, and we noted the slope that had been identified in the letter from the building inspector. The house corners were marked, and we saw where test holes had been dug for the proposed septic system area. The wetland is on the west and north sides of the property, and it extends far, as we were told, far off the property. To me, it appeared that there were adequate portions of the property that were out of the wetland buffer that would allow the consideration of a layout that would have septic fields outside the buffer. While the lot is constrained by the wetland buffer, I believe alternatives exist on this parcel. Now, the code says, and this is the wetland code, says, the placement of sewage disposal tanks, plants, and septic fields is not encouraged within a buffer area and may only be considered when all other potential feasible alternatives have been thoroughly explored and determined to be infeasible. So I think from the site walk, it did not show me that places were infeasible. We saw some big boulders. We saw, but I think we saw areas that said that, I mean, it might need relocation of or reorientation of the house, the septic fields. But from the visit, I couldn't say potential feasible alternatives have been thoroughly explored and determined to be infeasible. So that was my conclusion from the visit. It does, I'm sorry?
Could I have the chapter?
Oh, it's, yes, it's 217-6C. I will give you this piece of paper, or I will email it to you if you want to. So, I mean, it's a very nice piece of property. It's nicely wooded. It had nice, it had attractive plants, but that was my assessment. So I don't know if you have anything, since you were both at the site walk, if you have anything to add.
Not really. I think that if your architect and your engineer can show that those can't really be used, because we're not quite sure whether other areas can be used, and that, that would be the tipping point for me.
But I think we need
You
to
have to
have that
demonstrate that through your
demonstrated.
engineer.
Yeah, I think we need that, we couldn't see that by visiting, so we need to have that assessed and explained, I think, to us. And I'm sorry, I should ask you just for the cameras to identify your name. Thank you. So,
I'll just point out that the other area in question is shown to be the septic expansion area. So it has to have some criteria in order to be feasible to be a septic expansion.
Yeah.
right.
So for that.
So, yeah, so just to comply with the code, our hands are tied. We have to have alternatives sort of explored and said, these won't work. And that's why I wanted to look up the codes, to make sure I really had the exact understanding of what it requires. And it's, again, for sewage disposal tanks, and septic field. So it's not just, the tank, it's not just the fields, it's both, and it has to be, has to be looked at. So,
Well, could you, Jan, could you say a word about the criteria for feasibility? What are the parameters that you get?
Well, again, I would imagine if the engineer is showing the septic expansion area where it is, we're testing in that area to determine, like, from the deep and perk tests, to demonstrate that you could build a septic system there that is the same size and design as the primary. That's the whole intent.
Right.
So you go through the same evaluation process for the expansion area as you do for the. Now, there might be a case to say, hey, if we use the expansion area for the primary, it's going to be a pump system. That isn't, that's not the preference. I don't think that
It doesn't eliminate it.
it doesn't eliminate it as a possibility. So they would have to demonstrate to you that it's not feasible to build a septic system in the expansion area. At least calling it an expansion area, I think it's going to be tough to do.
and there might be other things. I mean, I don't know, I don't know if it would be easy, if you could put something towards the well and move the well elsewhere. I don't know these things, but I know that we haven't explored everything, or reorient the house. I think Jan's memo said maybe consider a smaller bedroom house, so you need less septic area. If that would get it out, so
There's
there's,
a 4-bedroom.
yeah. I mean, so I don't know, but we need, I don't know. I just think that's one of the things that we,
Well, I may be missing something here, but the objective here, your objective, Mr. Garfield, is to keep the wooded area between you and the neighbor. So. Right. So, but the expansion area is what we're calling that area the expansion area?
What is currently shown as the expansion area is the portion that's closest to the neighbor.
Right.
But it's also outside of the 150-foot buffer.
well, most of it is, there's a little bit of it in.
Yeah.
But there's also, I don't know what's behind the house. I didn't know it was rock. I don't know if there's something in the corner, sort of where the well is. Maybe the well can get swept over. I don't know, and I think those are all things. Right, so we don't know that from here. I think it would be helpful to have someone come in and say, here's all the things we tried to do, and this is why this is the only answer. But as Jan said, one of the things we're going to have to say is, well, if it works as an expansion septic system area, that we would have to consider that to be used before we would
The board has
allow-
consistently tried to get the primary as far away from the wetland as possible, and the septic in the expansion area if it has to with the buffer. If they have to make that choice for the code, they have to get the primary the buffer.
if there's any way to
If
do
there's any
it.
way to do it. I mean, that's just what the code says. I know, but we discussed a lot. We did not talk about that particular issue. Your engineer decided to put the primary down there and the expansion up top. We didn't get that far into detail. Absolutely not. We talked about the lot and I said, I think you have a buildable lot. That's as far as we went.
Okay, so I think you've heard our reaction to the site walk and to the restrictions of the code. I know this is difficult, but this is where we stand at the moment. And if the code requires us to see alternatives.
I want to just throw something. Are there any enhancements that would, that we talked about over there in the pipeline that could assist in removing this
Like septic enhancements.
septic enhancement and moving towards
The county hasn't gone any further than we've discussed in the past, and where you can build a conventional septic system. They're going to ask you to do a conventional septic system. The alternatives and high-tech systems come into play when there's for conventional or typically with a septic failure that there's no ability to provide the conventional system.
They don't like it to move. It's existing ones that go bad.
Right.
So. So what we have to look at all other feasible alternatives. So it might be, I mean, what we have to say is not just, I mean, somebody needs to come in and say, here's why it's maybe not just the back, but here's why this won't work and this won't work and this is why these are the only places. And then probably we want, and then I think we would end up as a board, I can't speak for everybody. But the code would say to us, yeah, you need them swapped if those are the only places. And I think if there were another place that we could put what's currently the primary and would presumably be the expansion, if we could figure out another place to put that as an alternate expansion, you know, we'd be inclined to follow the code and take that option too. So we really, you know,
Should all his engineers go beyond? I mean, that would be
that's certainly, I think, the option, you know, as that goes forward. So if you didn't hear that, that was a suggestion that your engineer and Jan have a discussion and sort of go through some of the options if that's, but that's really where we stand.
Well, we talked when you initially were interested in purchasing the property. We went over it on GIS. And I said, I think you have a buildable lot. It's zoning compliant. It's an existing lot. He never showed me a layout, and he told me about putting our primary septic system, and this is where we're going to put our expansion. I never saw a layout. They said it was a feasible lot. He decided to go to the health department before he came to the planning board. We got the septic system approved in a 150-foot wetland buffer. And that was his prerogative.
actually, the question was asked, why was this chosen? Was it chosen by DOH? And he said, no, what we presented is what they approved.
And I think their engineer said at the last meeting, he didn't realize there was a 150-foot buffer.
Yeah, we
So,
did ask him that. So it wasn't that the DOH preferred one over the other, the DOH.
DOH is going to
Just
evaluate what's presented to them.
exactly.
It would be better over here because there's wetlands. You know, that's this board's.
And that's what we're doing.
Be happy to, but I think that's, you heard the direction.
So. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is a wetland permit and violation of calendar number 03-20 WV, and there's also a wetland permit number, but I don't have it. And so this is for the Schulke Residence, 3 Beaver Pond Road, South Salem, New York. They have asked us to adjourn this until September. They are still working with their advisors to get a plan.
I did hear from Steve Marino today from Timor Associates. He's been speaking to the owner. And we had a short discussion just about objectives, prior discussions, and he's going to, I think, talk to the owner and try to put something forward.
Great,
Just wanted to open the conversation.
thank you.
Yeah,
So,
it's 29, 21, 30.
thank you. And is Steve aware that the August 31st is the next submission date?
We didn't get that one.
Okay. I don't know.
And Kirsten, maybe you want to
Yeah, if you could, Kirsten, if you could sort of reach out and say, that's the submission date, that would be helpful.
September is going to be, we're going to feature,
I'm sorry?
we're going to feature on September meeting.
Yeah, well, some things might adjourn again, we don't know. Okay, so the next item on the agenda are, we have two discussions. The first is, the comprehensive plan steering committee's draft RFP for consulting services to update the 1985 master plan. This was referred to us by the town board, for our review. I know Charlene has looked at it a lot. I've looked at it, Jan has looked at it, Judd looked at it and made comments. I think part of the reason for us to look at it is to be aware of our responsibilities. When this comes forward, we are going to be asked to participate in the process. It's, as we should want to, it's a very important document that would guide a lot of what the planning board does once it's adopted. So I, having already given some comments, don't really have anything more to add. And I looked at what both Jan and Judd had said, and so unless there's anything that somebody else comes up with, I think we can just say back to the town board, we support the town going forward with an RFP and on the master plan. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I would, on behalf of the steering committee, I would like to thank Janet for your input in it, and for Judd and Jan, they're very pointed and important additions to it. And I believe that most of them, if not all of them, were included as was Janet. In my estimation, the planning board, not because I'm on it, is extremely important in getting a new comprehensive plan. The planning board has seen much of what the issues are and much of what is needed for the town. So hopefully you all will have a lot of involvement in the coming attraction for the consultant.
I would just ask if you would care to modify that instead of much of the concerns are all. Why hedge? Because I think we, as
Because you're a modest group, that's
Yeah.
why.
I think we have, we're at the,
I believe so.
yeah.
Yeah.
While I think the town board sets the overall direction, we really implement the day-to-day decisions.
You're where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah.
yeah. And I'd like
Yeah,
to say,
Yeah.
I'd like to say we're fortunate as a community to have shown involvement in this thing, because I think it would be perhaps, effective, but with their guidance, I'm sure that it's very effective.
I remember that first day when I sort of said, and there's going to be this comprehensive plan committee and we need somebody, and everybody on the board's face went down except for Charlene. So I'm really grateful that she has taken this on. And I think her expertise is really not just from what she's done on our planning board, but what she's done throughout her career is helpful to the group. So
If you become embarrassing.
yeah, so we'll move on. So I think, do I need a motion to say
I would
that?
say, why don't you just adopt the motion for authorizing you to sign a letter to the town board
Yeah.
endorsing the RFP
And endorsing
and the
and
process.
supporting the process.
Yeah,
Okay.
I make that motion that we adopt the resolution to approve the process as spelled out by the steering committee in the memorandum dated.
No, and the RFP.
That's what's the drawing.
It's just the and
And
the
it's just a
RFP.
letter.
Yeah,
One
RFP dated July 25th.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Is that a letter I'm drafting? Who's drafting it? Okay, we don't need legal on that.
I don't.
Okay, Kirsten, you and I are a team on that. Okay. The second thing that we were going to discuss was really a topic brought up by Greg, who looked for a transcript. And I think really we should, in his absence, I mean, I think we sort of came to a summary that said, you know, we have the recording, we have YouTube. Our current minutes do point to the times for each matter that the recording takes place. I do think that the time and energy to do a transcript is not a good investment. I think the usefulness of the ensuing transcript as this long thing that you have to wade through to find out the key points is difficult. And I also think that every other organization in this town seems to use the more abbreviated minutes that we have become used to. So for that reason, I look, I guess, for consensus among the people here, unless there's any other comments that you have, to continue to have the meeting minutes prepared in this sort of summary of the discussion and the motions and the decisions summarized in them.
I totally agree. And the reason to have minutes is sort of antiquated at this point in time. To have the public be able to see and hear or know what's happening. Now that you have a YouTube, you can whatever position you're interested in, I think minutes are about 30. Well, we transcript minutes.
Yeah.
Transcript.
I would agree. The only exception might be, and this is where Greg is coming from, is public hearings, especially on matters that might have a controversial nature, so that the avoidance of any subjective emotion-based responses excluded. But other than that, on the day-to-day of month meetings, Sean said we have some documentation.
And as long as it's a very consensus something, whatever it is, you can always get someone to take minutes.
Yeah, right. And
Rather than have, just, those should be taken, if there's going to be any litigation involved, I think.
yeah, and in fact, in those instances, often the applicant will either
Yeah.
on its own
Right.
or at our encouragement have a stenographer present.
Right. So
Those don't become the minutes, by the way, but
No.
it's
Yeah.
so I think that would satisfy.
So with that, I think we've all agreed that we're going to continue on this way, on this path. And then if I hope we don't have too many contentious public hearings, but should those come up, I mean, like tonight, we will figure out how to deal with it. So with that, we have the minutes of July 20th, 2021.
I would move to approve those minutes as prepared.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Move for adjournment.
Well, we just have to announce that the next meeting date is September 21st, 2021. And now move for adjournment.
Move for adjournment.
I second.
Any discussion about this?